Hi everyone, so we're going to start talking about World War II. So we're going to understand how World War II begins today. Our objectives and standards: to analyze how Germany was successful in the early stages of the war, and to understand events that drew the world into a global conflict. And please read the standards there. And our desired result: what events began World War II? Alright, vocabulary. We have non-aggression pact, which was an agreement between the Soviet Union and Germany to not attack the other. And blitzkrieg, otherwise known as lightning war, that used airplanes, soldiers, and tanks to surprise attack and overwhelm enemies. Okay, so war begins again. So the Soviet Union and Germany signed the non-aggression pact. Again, we talked about this a little bit previously, but just to kind of refresh your memories and go over it again a little bit. But this non-aggression pact would allow these two countries to work together and then be able to split Poland among themselves. Okay. Also, the Soviet Union was going to be receiving Lithuania, Estonia, Latvia, and Finland. They would also be controlled by the USSR. So war finally arrived again on September 1st, 1939. At dawn, Poland was invaded on September 1st, 1939. Sorry, that's a little repetition there. German tanks and troops moved across the country as German airplanes bombed from above. So this is a new tactic used by Germany, which you just saw in the vocab, known as blitzkrieg. Okay, it's this fast-moving tactic of, basically surprise attacking, your enemy or whoever you're trying to invade quickly. They have, no warning of it basically, and it's successful. Germany is successful at this. After Poland falls to Germany, France and, well, I'm sorry, I should say France and Great Britain declared war on Germany on September 3rd, but Poland had already been taken over, so it was a little late, but France and Great Britain still responded by declaring war. Okay, so like I just said, this invasion was a test of Germany's strategy known as blitzkrieg, and the strategy was efficient. On September 17th, 1939, Stalin had his troops occupy the eastern half of Poland, and Germany will control the western half. Like we said, they were going to divide Poland between each other. Stalin also took control of Lithuania, Latvia, and Estonia. However, the Soviets faced some resistance in the country of Finland. They weren't expecting a fight, but they did kind of run into some difficulty there. So in November 1939, Stalin decided to send more troops to Finland, and he expects a quick victory. But the Finnish troops, they were fierce. Despite being outnumbered and outgunned, they were very hard fighters. And one of the unique things I kind of learned about too was that soldiers on skis were actually attacking Soviet troops in the freezing winter. So you had soldiers on skis attacking these German soldiers. Unfortunately, in May 1940, Finland will be forced to surrender to the Soviet Union. All right, awaiting war. So after declaring war, the British and the French mobilized their armies, right? They get ready for war. They placed troops at the fortifications known as the Maginot Line, which was this border between Germany and France, okay? And then basically they're going to wait for an attack by the Germans, and they wait and they wait and they wait, and both sides kind of became bored, and some people even began to call this the phony war because they were just soldiers just kind of sitting around waiting and waiting for something to happen or for fighting or something. So it was a little bit of a waiting war for a little bit. Okay, the fighting starts again. April 9th, 1940, Germany launched a surprise attack against Denmark and Norway. Okay, Denmark fell in a few hours, and Norway will surrender 2 months after that. The goal of this is that the Germans want to build bases, and they do begin to build bases along the coast of Norway as well as Denmark, so they can launch an attack on Great Britain. Remember, Great Britain's an island, so they can't really kind of, march across the border, like they did with some of these other countries. So they need to build or set up some type of plan to be able to launch an attack against Great Britain. So while that is going on, let's talk about France. Also in May 1940, Germany gained control of Luxembourg, the Netherlands, and Belgium. Now, Hitler is going to use these countries as well to launch an attack against France. While he's, excuse me, while he's invading these other countries and the Allies are focused on that, Hitler is going to use the Ardennes. Now, the Ardennes is a heavily wooded section of Europe. It's part of northern France, Belgium, and Luxembourg. He's going to move his troops through this heavily, wooded forest to invade France. Like I said, while the Allies were focused on, other invasions that were going on. So he kind of sneaks in there a little bit. When the German forces reached the French coast, they joined other German troops in Belgium. So they're kind of, again, coming in and closing in on France from both sides. The German military was able to surround Allied forces in France, who were then forced to retreat to the beaches of what is called Dunkirk. Okay, the Allied forces were trapped and needed rescue. But again, they're trapped between pretty much the water and and their enemy forces here. So Great Britain sent a fleet of ships of every type, both military and civilian. So they tell every boat, hey, get over there and rescue these guys. So even like fishermen, even like rowboats, like anybody who could get there to help the soldiers. Okay. And the boats were able to transport troops out of harm's way. So this is kind of a little bit of an embarrassment. I don't want to say embarrassment, but it's a little bit of a letdown for the Allied forces because they have to kind of, retreat in this hurry, and it's a pretty hectic retreat and escape. So it was a little bit of a setback for the Allies. Okay, everybody, so here you can see this is a map that kind of shows you what happened at Dunkirk. So you'll see the town of Dunkirk here. You can see how the German troops were kind of moving in to surround the British on all sides and other Allied forces on all sides. These pink arrows are to represent the citizens and the other ships and seacraft that came to rescue the British as they were trapped at Dunkirk. It was a good thing they did, because who knows what would have happened if they may not have. And this picture here is a depiction of the rescue at Dunkirk. So you can see all the men on the beaches here waiting to be rescued, and all the different ships and things like that that were coming in to help rescue these soldiers and everyone else. So that kind of shows you a little bit more about Dunkirk there. Okay, so the fall of France. So after Dunkirk, there was little resistance from the French. By June 14th, 1940, Germany had captured Paris, and on June 22nd, 1940, France will surrender to Germany. Now, Germany took control of the northern part of France while they set up this kind of public government in southern France, which was just like, they were French who controlled the southern part of France, but they were more not so. I mean, they were French, but there were others, but they were supporters of the Nazis. So that's how they divided France. Now, there was a French general named Charles de Gaulle. He's going to establish a government in exile. So he's going to, be in London, sending messages to the French people, urging them to continue fighting and resisting. And many of the French people do. I don't want you to think that many of the French people just kind of stopped fighting and things like that. There was French resistance throughout the war, which was successful. So the people of France, they may be out, but they may be down, I should say, but they're not out. Okay, so our closure, once again, what events began World War II? So think about some of the events that we've taken a look at in the lesson here, with some of the events and attacks and planning that happened in World War II, or in the beginning of World War II, I should say, and that will help you answer your question. All right, have a great rest of your day or night.